So, good morning everyone. My name is Pierpaolo Zollo. As Philip said, I'm VP for Quandoo in business development. So, really the story I wanted to tell you today is the story of a company, Quandoo, which scaled, but a story also of a company which has been facing some challenges and we've been failing. And it's okay to fail, and we believe fundamentally that failing is setting up for success and growth. So in terms of introduction, today I'm VP for in business development at Quandoo. My background is really on digital advertising and tech. This is where I spent the last 20 years helping e-commerce businesses to scale. And the key messages I would like you to take away, hopefully at the end of this presentation, investment is absolutely, we're talking here, we have startups on one side and investors on the other side. Investment is key to scale and to grow, and I will tell you a little bit more about it in a minute. What we did essentially for us, being a marketplace, scaling, meaning scaling supply on one side, demand and diners on the other side, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more on how we achieved that growth. Also, probably most importantly, hopefully will be helpful for you guys. We are facing challenges on a daily basis. We failed many times, and the mindset we have at the company is that it's okay to fail because we can react fast and we can grow and learn from our mistakes. And then we were talking to Philip, and we were saying, essentially we are a marketplace. So we scaled, but we are also helping businesses, in this case, restaurants, to scale. So as a connected story, I'm just going to show you, I'm just going to tell you a sub-story, if you want, on how we help some of the restaurants to scale. Some of the restaurants did, some of the restaurants failed, unfortunately. So how Quandoo scaled? This is a little bit of a timeline of Quandoo. Quandoo was launched in 2013, 6 years ago. The first city to be launched, the founders were ex-Groupon guys. So that's the background, really, e-commerce, voucher, discount. They raised a couple of $1 million through seed financing, and then they launched the first city. 2015 was really the big moment for the company. The company was acquired for 200 million euros by Recruit. Usually when I mention this name in Europe, it doesn't say a thing, but it's a giant in Japan. It's $20 billion revenue organization, 35,000 employees in Japan and worldwide. They dominate the Japanese market in some key industries like travel, hospitality, beauty, and recruitment, as the name suggests. And what they did essentially, very easy strategy, I'd say. Essentially, they found the formula to scale e-commerce businesses in Japan, and then they said, okay, let's conquer the world. And essentially what they've been doing, they've been looking for companies to scale beyond the Japanese borders, and they acquire Indeed, which is probably within the portfolio of the Recruit companies nowadays, our sister company did the most successful one. You all know Indeed. Some other sister companies we have in our portfolio are Treatwell, the beauty booking platform, and then 6-8 months ago, Recruit. The new addition to the portfolio is Glassdoor, which is the Recruit company in the US, mainly in the US. End of 2017, a new senior management with tech and digital background was brought in, and this is where we saw the company starting its growth and scaling. So I guess, yeah, the key element and the first key message I was mentioning to you in the agenda is we are blessed. It's crucial, it's vital for a business to have investment, to have resources. We have big backing. We Recruit as a parent company. We have very solid investors, and they did not only pay the price, the 200 million euros acquisition back in time, but they're also topping up on an annual basis with significant resources. They're not interested in profitability at the moment, obviously. They're interested in gaining market share and seeing Quandoo growing, essentially. Where did the money go? Very, very high level, as you can see, bottom right, 2 key areas. Again, marketplace. So we needed to scale supply, and the money went into resources and technology, aka resources, salespeople on the ground to sign up restaurants in all our countries we are operating. And then technology to build bespoke guest management platform for the restaurant, essentially software and hardware to allow them to accept reservations online. And then from a demand side, diners, of course, people doing marketing, but also technology, aka sophisticated API, which allows us today to open up our supply to any platform wanting to allowing reservation online for restaurants on their platform. So yeah, in paper, it all looks very simple. We built an ecosystem with technology and resources in the middle, and then what we started to do, and it looks like a bow tie graph, and the virtuous cycle is really starting from here, from the supply. So with technology and resources, we acquire a little bit of supply. With this supply, we started to generate some demand, and then we acquire some extra supply, and we generate some extra demand. And really, that's the ambition for the company. So essentially, we wanna be in a position here that every single restaurant which is bookable in the country we're operating in is listed on Quandoo, so that we can maximize and scale in a significant way the demand. That's the growth we had. We are quite proud, happy, I'd say not satisfied, because you can never be satisfied, can you? So as you can see, there is a strong correlation between supply and demand. So blue line is the number of restaurants we signed up since the launch in 2013, and the orange bars are the number of bookings we've been generating, so diners going to sit at this restaurant. And nowadays, Quandoo has 18,000 bookable restaurants across 12 countries that we're operating in. Since the launch, we've been seating 160 million diners, and on a daily basis nowadays, more or less, we generate 50,000 transaction bookings for this restaurant. It's not all roses, as I said. We failed many times, and it's okay to fail. A couple of challenges we faced, but actually, I can use the verb we're still facing. The first one on your left is what I define unbalanced bow tie. Essentially, we did a great job in terms of demand, and as you saw from the graph, especially when we open up our platform to through the API to third-party players, we scaled the demand in a really material way. Unfortunately, we didn't keep up enough with the supply. So essentially, we disappointed quite a few diners because they were coming to Quandoo, and this was actually one of the takeaway from the offline campaign. It was an expensive exercise, but it was successful because from a demand perspective, with the wonderful guys, we were able to generate massive amount of demand in some of the key capitals we are running. But we disappointed these diners because they didn't find essentially all they wanted. So the focus as of now is rebalance the bow tie and really scale the supply exponentially through 2 initiatives, essentially directly sales organization. They're getting a lot of pressure to sign up the restaurants we need and we want and the diners want, but also through third-party platform and partnerships with some competitors. The second challenge, probably I'm stating the obvious here, but this is probably was the biggest failure we had. We were a startup essentially until yesterday, and in a startup environment, you want to do lots of stuff. You're involved in tons and tons of projects. We were getting distracted. We have a very clear strategy, very clear mission statement, but execution was really poor because we were not delivering, we were not executing in a proper way. So we decided, okay, let's revisit this approach. Has to be less is more. That's the mantra nowadays at Quandoo. Year and a half ago, we launched, I'm sure you're familiar with this OKR process, and call it whatever you want to call it, but essentially it's a strong, solid prioritization process which really help you to define, bearing in mind the mission statement of the company, objectives, key results, and then you measure progress regularly, and then you take it from there. So really highly recommended this OKR process. There is a lot of literature on the internet. It's Google uses, everybody, most successful company, they're using the OKR process at the moment. So in terms of wrapping up this first part of the story, really, investment, key to scale. We've been very lucky with big backing from the Japanese. This is relevant for a marketplace, but it can be applied to any ecosystem, really, where supply and demand are interacting. Virtuous cycle is starting from the supply. So getting your supply right, which is comprehensiveness on one side, but also quality of the supply on the other side, which is then generating demand. Usual channels to get transactions. Probably there are 20 channel from the most traditional ones, SEM, SEO, to offline marketing, business development, which was quite successful for Quandoo. So trial all of them, and don't be afraid to fail. And again, as I just said in my previous slide, less is more. Prioritize and make sure you put in place an OKR system to make sure the execution is spot on. So we talk about how Quandoo is scaled, and essentially Quandoo scaling, we've been generating more and more demand and diners for the restaurants, which means we help the restaurants to scale with us. But as I was saying at the very beginning, unfortunately, some of them didn't make it and failed. And probably main reason for failures in the past few years in terms of restaurant, which didn't make it, essentially. Probably they didn't realize what was going on in the industry. And first of all, I'm stating the obvious here. Mobile phones we do everything. We research, but we do transact more and more on mobile phone. I was reading a while ago research, I think it was in America, hopefully it was in America, but it was saying shocking data, 39% of the people would rather give up sex for a month than giving up their phone for a month, which is saying a lot. We also see in terms of trends, some of the trends which are impacting the retailers are impacting hospitality industry, but also some other industry like travel. One parallel is nowadays we go online, we go on our smartphone to check if there is availability before going to your restaurant last minute. The same way we call or we check, we look online at the store if the product is on stock before going to the store. Also, we see a great parallel in terms of ability of businesses to deliver experiences. I believe demand is getting more and more sophisticated, and they're expecting great experiences. On retail, high street is struggling. Again, I'm stating the obvious here, but hopefully there's nobody working for Debenham on House of Fraser. But when you go to these places, they'll be empty these days, dusty shelves, probably not very nice and friendly staff. and why you wonder that they're struggling. You walk past the Apple Store, you get in, you get great products, great atmosphere, a great experience, and that shop in Regent Street is always full of people. And same goes with restaurants, really. If you go to some of the chains, and you've been reading in the news lately, there's been a lot going on. Some of the very popular names going bust or close to go bust, really. Sticky tables, rude staff, average food, not delivering great experiences. So this is really something we're seeing as a trend. Obviously, we do everything online to look for restaurants. We read the reviews more and more. We look at pictures on Instagram. So really, digital is the number one influencer for choosing the restaurant we want to go to. And also, we're also seeing as a trend, people are leaving things later and later. There's this really businesses are really seeing the impact of a late decision making. Again, I was reading some research a few days ago, and I read that 35% of the people booked their hotel after the plane has landed, which is really telling you something. On our side, we see 30 to 40% of the reservation are made 2 hours before the booking. So years ago, we were making a booking on a Tuesday night for a Saturday night, and we were not distracted from any input, really. We were going to the restaurant. We wanted to go on a Saturday night. Now we make a booking on the Tuesday, and then we get input. We see pictures on Instagram, and we change our minds tons of times. So we're really exposed to a significant amount of input. And we really believe that for businesses, whether this applies on high street retail or hospitality, is to put their digital front doors, open their digital front doors everywhere, which is, we call this hashtag, which is now the trendy hashtag, Quandoo digital front doors, which is in every presentation, every speech. So essentially, digital front doors open, obviously, on Quandoo on one side, 24/7, but also, as I was mentioning to you, we opened up through API to third-party platform. So we we signed deals and partnerships with Google Maps, so you can book restaurants when you're browsing the maps and in a very seamless way. Same things with the Apple Maps. We signed a deal with the Facebook guys so that we can help restaurants to convert Facebook fans and Instagrammers into diners. We open our supplies to Chinese tourists and business people traveling to Europe, and many more integration. So really, what we did is helping businesses to scale throughout the entire funnel. Obviously, the top, what we did last year with the wonderful guys, attracting offline campaign, Facebook, Instagram, getting inspiration, middle, capture, SEM activities, the Quandoo maps, and then to the conversion, which is the closing through all the booking widget, our interactive voice response, and artificial intelligence we have on the Google Assistant. And essentially, we are seeing that when a restaurant is convinced and they trust us, they trust the system on one side in terms of technology and guest management. They give us live availability, and on the other side, they let us do the work in terms of digital marketing, so they can concentrate on what they can do best, which is delivering great culinary experiences. We really saw from the data that we were able to drive 20% more footfall to these businesses, which is something which is helping them to scale. And that's it. Sorry, that was not really relevant. So that's it in terms of telling you story about how Quandoo scaled and how we help restaurants to scale. I will be attending the panel later on, so if you got questions, I'm very happy to answer all your questions. I know there is a coffee break that I'm really looking forward to. So you can ask me, approach me for asking me any question you want.